Hey, Jeremy.
Hey, guys. How you doing?
What's going on?
You've been all over this story for a while. You know the people here in the DMV are freaking out. What's kind of the latest that you're hearing with this Terry situation?
Well, I checked with somebody last night after he had decided to hold out, and I think his feeling was, hey, I've been serious this whole time, so why should I cave now and show up? So it's interesting with these holdouts, and I've been to these before, where you hear players say a lot that, or people around the players say, well, hey, they're dug in, they're gonna stay away or miss games, and you kind of have to judge, well, do they mean it or not? I think Terry means it. We'll see what happens over time, and minds can change, and I think it's more like the Washington has been in touch more over the last few days, which is good.
You believe that to be true? Because we have a guy here that works here, and he says, I don't believe it, because if there were real talks, he'd maybe hold in at least. There'd be some movement.
Well, I think you're right. It's semantics a little bit as far as what real talks are. I think if the talks were truly meaningful or going in a positive direction toward a deal, I do think he would be there.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that they've increased the number of discussions they've had of late. Like the Washington's been in touch.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't know how meaningful the conversations were. They clearly weren't good enough to get them there, So it is semantics a little bit. But over the last few days, Washington has been in touch more, and they've had talks more so than they were, say, a couple weeks ago. So if there's a positive, it's that, I guess.
Jeremy, are you surprised that the Washington front office has taken this stance with Terry McLaurin, a team leader, clearly a valued player, that they're drawing this line in the sand with one of their most valued players? Are you surprised at all by that?
Well, I would say I'm mildly surprised, but I'm not in the sense that these third contracts are tricky no matter how good a player is. They just are. T.J. Watt, I would probably call an exception. Watt and Myles Garrett, because they're both 1 and 2 in the pass rusher market, and it's a premier position and they're premier players. Terry obviously is a very good elite receiver, but I think some teams put a cap a little bit on what they're willing to do on third contracts, and there really is sticker shock league wide at some of these positions the way they've grown financially. Where receiver $30 million a year, nobody sniffs at anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think, could Washington change its plan, especially if Terry continues to sit out? Certainly, but it sounds like coming into all this, or at least coming into the summer, they were willing to acknowledge a slight increase on where Terry was, but not the market, which is $30 million and above.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, do you have any, and maybe you're just guessing, Jeremy, but any chance you can guess on what the gap is? I mean, he's currently making about 23, and like you said, the big guys are making mid-30s, and I wouldn't pay Terry McLaurin mid-30s either. I like him, but I wouldn't pay him that much because he's he'll be 30. But any idea what the gap is? What do you think Terry's asking for, and what do you think Adam is offering?
Well, it's not a guess. It is based on my talks, but it's
okay, good.
But people aren't spelling out an exact gap, so I don't know the exact gap is, say, $5 million a year, for instance. But based on what I've gathered, if it was something like that, that would not surprise me. Like it's.
Are they under 30?
I don't even think.
Is that your guess?
They're in a place where Washington's making offers and counter offers right now. That's part of the problem. I don't think they're that far down the road. It's more like, here's where we are, here's where you are. So I don't know if there's even like a realistic gap that exists right now, because I don't think they've gotten that far.
Oh.
So they're still like at their preliminary offers, essentially.
Yeah, I just think it hasn't intensified to that point. It's been some talks of hey, here's what we would be comfortable with. Okay, well, here's the market, and here's what Terry's accomplished in that market, so we got a problem. That's kind of where it's at. So I don't know that it's even got off the ground in that way. But from what I was told, I think Washington was willing to do what some would consider a slight increase off of where he was. So if he's at 23, they'd be willing to do, say, 25, for example. And Terry's probably saying, hey, the market's 30 plus. So where are we at here? And so that's essentially the gap. I'm not going to put an exact number on it, but that's kind of what you're looking at.